Hello friends, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today we are looking at the collab of the century with Holo Taco's Safiya collection. So this limited edition collection features 5 polishes in a range of finishes. There's also a black crystal nail file and some black bat glitters. And unfortunately, as of this recording, a couple of the items are sold out, but you still can grab, I think, 3 of the nail polishes as well as the black bat glitters. So as always, I will have the Holo Taco website linked in the description if you do want to shop whatever is available, and I will save more of my thoughts after comparisons. For now, let's get into the swatches. So first, we are obviously looking at the collection box. It is so gorgeous. I am obsessed with the design of this one. I think it turned out so amazing. I'm just such a fan. It's a matte black finish, but it has this die cut pattern. So underneath, there's this pink metallic foil that just catches the light so beautifully. I also really love that Safiya's name is in that hollow foil, so it stands out a little bit more. And once we open up the box, it says hello friends, and we obviously have our little polishes and the 2 extra goodies if you got the full bundle. The first goodie we have is Safiya's black crystal nail file, and it is exactly what it sounds like. So cool looking, but I was so intrigued by the back of this being completely glass, so only one side is the actual filing side. And the other goodie is Safiya's Black Bat Glitter Pack, and this is a little packet of black metallic bat glitters, and they are so tiny. I cannot get over how cute they are. So here is my pinky nail for reference. They are super small. And lastly, here's a look at the unicartons. They are so pretty. It's basically the same color as Feeling Fiendish, and it has these hollow details on the top and bottom, as well as glossy details with the classic Holo Taco print and some bats along the sides of the box. So finally, getting into the swatches, the first one we have is Spirit Fingers, and this is a cool gray jelly formula with a magenta red shimmer and a dash of scattered holo. So personally, I would call this more of a crelly finish as opposed to a jelly, just because it does have a slight creamy kind of consistency, and it does give me pretty decent coverage on the first coat. Like, it's very even, but still a little bit sheer where you obviously see my nail line. But I got this one fully opaque in just 2 coats. So this one did have such a lovely formula. I feel like it just was so smooth to apply and it built up really nicely. I don't think you would need a 3rd coat, maybe if you just did thinner coats or if you had longer nails, but I think there's just a lot of shimmer in here, and the base color again built up so beautifully that you just wouldn't need more than 2. The next shade we have is Brucie, and this is described as a muted dark teal in a linear holographic formula. So even though this is obviously a linear holo, it does have a really strong teal blue kind of shimmer going on in there. So I feel like it almost does give it a metallic kind of feel to it. It's not just a linear holo, if that makes sense. So I really did like how this finish turned out. I know Safiya was saying it's kind of like a steely teal kind of color, and I think that's definitely super accurate. So formula wise, this one was such a dream. It was really opaque on the first coat, not quite a 1-coater. I mean, maybe if your nails were shorter than mine, but I ended up needing 2 for full coverage, and it just looks so cool. I just love how there's so much contrast between that shimmer and the base, where it almost looks black on the edges of my nail. Next, we have the cream in the collection, and it's called Feeling Fiendish. This one's described as a medium, warm purple mauve. So this one had another fantastic formula. It was super creamy and opaque on the first coat alone, which I thought was super impressive because I was kind of expecting it to be slightly on the crelly side. so it's good to know that I can just wear this in one coat if I'm ever in a rush. But I ended up doing a second coat anyway, just kind of out of habit. And yeah, I have no complaints about this one. It is just such a buttery smooth formula, and if anything, I'll just make a note of the color where it definitely looks very bright here, and I think it can be color accurate, but it's also very muted in other lighting. Next we have Bat Bitch, and this one is a black pearlescent formula with a delicate blue micro shimmer. I absolutely love this one. I don't know what it is about this combination, but I just think it is so beautiful, so cool. And yeah, this is my second favorite from this collection. So formula-wise, this one had another crelly kind of formula similar to Spirit Fingers, where I got really even coverage on the first coat, but it just wasn't fully opaque, so you definitely will need a second one. And it just applied like a dream. It gave me full coverage because of course it has a black base, so it's going to be a lot easier to build up in just 2 coats, and I just adore this one. But I don't think I would call it a pearlescent finish. To me, this just feels like a pretty classic shimmer finish. Pearls usually have a pretty strong shimmer contrast to the base, and they also look very streaky. And rounding out the collection, we have Bury Me in Holo, and this is a berry lipstick shade in a crushed holographic formula. So I was obviously so excited about this one. I just really love this berry kind of color, but I also really love the crushed holographic finish so much. So I'm just happy to have another one. This one gave me such great coverage on the first coat. Again, not quite a one coater, but honestly, I think if I had shorter nails, I would just wear this in one coat because it would be sparkly enough to distract from any visible nail line, but that's just personal preference. So of course, I am doing a second coat to make it fully opaque, and I just am obsessed with this color. It is giving me muted raspberry covered in like crystallized sugar. I am just so in love with it. It is so cozy, so beautiful, and I love the subtle sparkle. And here is the collection lineup. So I really thought the range of finishes was super fun, but I was also kind of surprised by the range of colors because I was kind of expecting this whole lineup to be super dark and vampy, like all the shades would be kind of like Bat Bitch. So I think this was really fun. Now getting into comparisons, we are obviously starting with Spirit Fingers and looking at it next to Mooncat's Smokescreen. This one is actually a magnetic polish, but obviously if you don't magnetize it, it ends up looking pretty similar to Spirit Fingers, but I do think they look more similar in the bottle. On the nail, you can definitely tell a difference in their base colors, where Spirit Fingers is a lot more blue toned, it's cooler, and Smokescreen is a little bit warmer or even slightly yellow, but I think that's the shimmer. I'd also say that the glitters are slightly larger in Mooncat, but yeah, they're not dupes, but definitely close. So I wanted to try and recreate it using Cold Slate as the base and then layering Scorched Earth on top of that. Obviously, the shimmer in Scorched Earth is a lot more fiery, so it's like red to orange to gold, and Spirit Fingers is pink to red, but in extreme angles, I did kind of see like a yellow shift in there. So in certain angles, the shimmer kind of matches up, but either way, the base color is just way off. So I personally don't think this combo is enough to mimic Spirit Fingers. Next for Brucie, the closest shade that I had was Olive Ave's Bondi Blue, which is this pretty deep teal in a hollow kind of formula, but the main difference with Olive Ave is that their hollows are very subtle, so you can only really pick it up in the sunlight. But yeah, obviously Brucie is a lot darker and it's more noticeable on the nail, but I was kind of surprised to see just how close the shimmer in Brucie was to Bondi Blue. I feel like they kind of have a similar vibe, so I thought maybe layering Bondi Blue over a deeper shade would kind of give a closer look. So I layered it here over Pluto, which is just a really deep navy, and while it does deepen it up, it just doesn't have that same shimmer effect that Brucie does. So Brucie to me has a metallic or almost a pearlescent shimmer along with the hollow. Next for Feeling Fiendish, I of course had to show this next to Mooncat's Freudian Slip, and these might look more similar here in the bottles, but Feeling Fiendish is a lot brighter, but not so bright that it is closer to Mooncat's Lost Polaroids, because that one's like a borderline neon kind of shade. But honestly, I feel like Feeling Fiendish is a pretty good in-between of the two Mooncats. Maybe it is closer to Freudian Slip, again, at least in the bottle, because on the nail, they are super, super different. You can see just how muted Mooncat's shade is. There's a lot more of like that gray undertone to it. So yeah, definitely not dupes. Next for Bat Bitch, I immediately thought of OPI's Cave the Way from last year's fall collection, because it's that very similar black base with this like steely blue kind of shimmer in there. But on OPI's side, the shimmer just doesn't look as blue as it does in Holo Tacos. So you don't really get that same one-to-one. I think OPI is a little bit more pearlescent too, but it's definitely a good alternative. And here it is next to Mooncat's The 13th Hour, which is a black jelly base that is packed with a blue shimmer, but the blue is obviously a very different shade. It's like almost more of a cobalt kind of color, and not as steely or maybe even icy looking as Bat Bitch. So these two are definitely not dupes. And lastly, for Bury Me in Holo, I really don't have anything quite like that shade, but I thought I could show it next to Olivab's Radiance, which was from their summer collection. This one's a bit of a brighter hot pink berry kind of shade with another subtle holo finish. So finishes aside, on the nail, you can see just how wildly different they are color-wise. So they're definitely not dupes as far as colors go, but I wanted to see if maybe layering Holo Taco's Flaky Holo Taco on top would kind of give a similar vibe to the crushed holo finish, but it definitely does not. Maybe if you did a few more coats, but even with doing two, I just don't think it compares. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons for Holo Taco's Safiya collection. So as always, I would love to know what your thoughts are on this release, and if you managed to grab the full bundle or if you just grabbed a couple of shades. I know a lot of people were there right at the launch and it was just so hectic. I was watching the live stream and it just was so much fun. But yeah, I want to know your thoughts on these, and especially if you did manage to grab anything. Hopefully if you missed out, you are somewhat interested in some of the alternatives that I shared, because thankfully I do think there are decent enough alternatives. Obviously they're not going to be a one-to-one dupe necessarily, but I think they would be worth checking out in case you missed any of these. So yeah, I'm a big fan, even though I was pretty surprised by the color story. I was just really expecting the whole lineup to be very dark and vampy, kind of similar to Brucie and Bat Bitch. So I was surprised the other three were on the quote-unquote lighter side, but I still think they're really fun. Obviously really gorgeous. My favorite is Bury Me in Holo, and I would love so many other shades in that same crushed holo formula. But yeah, I was almost expecting like a deep vampy plummy purple in maybe that same formula, so hopefully we'll get that at some point. But yeah, you'll have to let me know any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, then please leave me a like, because I got this package in yesterday from the moment you're watching this. So I worked my butt off to swatch these, do the comparisons and all of that for you. So I would appreciate that. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.